following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Us Democrats. Happy New Year. My name is Dave Tencza, Chair of the Nashua Democratic City Committee. With me is my co-host, Representative Ken Gidge. Representative, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Actually, it's December 31st, but it will be New Year.
It will be New Year.
Running.
This is our New Year's show.
This is our New Year's show. And again, you're the head of the Democratic Party here in the city of Nashua, and which is important. It's the second largest city. You've got a lot of
It's very important, yeah.
A lot of people who are thinking if they're going to run again or not, especially
Sure.
when it comes down to the representatives. And what do you see? I mean, I'm always talking. What do you see about taking place in the Democratic Party here in the city of Nashua?
I think we have a lot of momentum. I think we're doing well here in Nashua. We're getting new people involved every day. People are reaching out to us and asking to, come to our events, join our mail lists, join our Facebook.
Do you see anybody with energy like Manjapudi, who is now a state representative? Sits right next to me, by the way.
Sure.
She's my seatmate, we call them. She's fiery. Do you see anyone like that coming in, that type of energy?
Oh, I think we have a lot of people who ran for the first time in 2012, who won, and really enjoy being up in Concord and doing the work that's required of the state legislators. I mean, it's tough work. It's not easy. It takes a lot of time. It's time that you don't get paid for, time that you have to give in community service. So there's those people who have who are going to be essentially facing their first re-election as incumbents, who I think know that 2014 is going to be different than it was in 2012. 2014's a midterm election, so they're going to have to fight even harder, go door to door, knock on more of their neighbors' doors, talk to them, explain all of the things that they've been able to accomplish as Democrats in Concord over the last 2 years.
Do you see any Republicans that worry you here in the state as a whole? As a Democratic, Nashua, you're a pretty large city.
As of today, as we sit here today talking about this, not particularly. There's been a lot of Republicans who have looked at running for higher office, either one of the congressional seats in for the 1st or 2nd district, Senate, running against Governor Hassan. So far, a lot of people have, who are established Republicans have said, we've looked at the race, but no, thank you. We don't want to enter it, which makes me think, I mean, these politicians at the statewide level, national level, are highly sophisticated. I think you know that and you see that. They don't make these decisions without knowing the numbers behind everything, what their chances are. And for that many Republicans to look at these races and take a pass, I think that's a good sign for Democrats. But good signs don't win good signs for us don't win elections.
Everything can change in 30 days.
Oh, everything. You're absolutely right.
In a week.
You're absolutely right.
Especially having been on my 3rd term, will be running again as state rep. Not because I want to do it, believe me, as you said. It's because I'm in commerce, banking, and insurance, and Nashua doesn't have anyone. I'm it. Mm-hmm. So we really have to have some connection. Someone who's not in banking, because a lot of people who are in banking are on commerce. Sure. A lot of people in insurance are on commerce, and some business people like myself. Sure. So I'm doing this because of that. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, too, obviously. We're banking and insurance, and you can imagine what we've gone through with banking and insurance. But it's not any easier to get elected.
Oh, it's not easier.
If I was to sit down, I think we ought to, somebody who's been there for 3 terms, or like David Campbell, who's been there longer. Sure. Sit down with the newbies, as they're called, the first 2-year people, which it's said that you need 2 years to figure it all out.
Sure.
I certainly have realized that that was factual. Sit down and explain to them, your second term running, you're not going to have a very popular president sweeping you in. You're not going to ride in on these coattails. You're going to ride in on a lot of negativity. This is going to be probably one of the worst times.
Sure. And there have been changes in, especially the State House, for the last couple election cycles. There's been, obviously, prior to this term, the Republicans heavily dominated the legislature. But prior to that, the Democrats were in the majority, correct? When before Speaker O'Brien.
I was there when the Democrats were in majority for 2 years. Then we lost, we'll say Bill O'Brien and his group, which was 297 to 103. I was one of the 103.
Sure.
It was one of the most awful 2 years in politics in the history of the state for Democrats. And now the Republicans are saying that they can take back the State House. And they got some very strong people who are going to run, and the Republican Party wants it, and the Republican Party here in the state of New Hampshire is going to get a lot of money from outside.
Sure. They've already started getting, I mean, outside money is coming in, and it comes in to build that base for 2016, right? I mean, that's how it's going to
exactly.
work.
The presidential election is going to start running this January.
Sure.
Until November. It's going to be a big deal.
Sure. Sure. As it should be. As it should be. And, it's an interesting time. You know, you say you're going to be running against an unpopular or with an unpopular president, but that things can change in 30 days. You know, one of the things that's making the president so unpopular as we start the new year is obviously the Affordable Care Act and the rollout of it, which hasn't gone smoothly at all. But I think that is going to be another strength for Democrats in 2014.
Well, let us talk about that, because that's hits hard to us. Because when O'Brien and the Republicans had the majority, the supermajority, they passed a law making it illegal for us as lawmakers, making it illegal for us to accept or to start an insurance exchange. So what happened was an insurance company comes along and says, hey, since no one wants to do it, we will do it. So they turned around and went to the federal government. The federal government says, well, if this is the only one in New Hampshire, we would rather have the people in New Hampshire do it. But, well, this insurance company comes along and says, okay, one hospital in Nashua, we're going to send everyone to, and that's who they're going to go to when they have our insurance.
Sure.
The other hospital, which is Southern Regional, completely out.
Right.
And then so when you look at that, it looks as if Obama did something.
Right.
Obama didn't do anything.
Right.
If we would have had an exchange, I believe in all the states that have an insurance exchange, it has gone smoothly. So we have to overcome what the Republicans have done.
We do have to overcome it, but I think once we start talking about all the great parts of the Affordable Care Act that affect hundreds of thousands of families in the state, you know, I think people will see. People are not going to want to give up the benefits that they have under the Affordable Care Act now. Things like allowing your children to stay on your health care until they reach the age of 26. Things like you can't be denied health care because of a pre-existing condition. The extended coverage or the affordable coverage that working people can afford now through the exchange. Plus, you know, there are already companies starting to talk about offering health care on the exchange other than Blue Cross Blue Shield. Harvard Pilgrim is looking to get into the market in 2015, I believe. There's another company out of Massachusetts, I believe it was Minuteman Insurance, who's looking to offer their insurance coverage here in New Hampshire. So,
and by the way, Bill O'Brien has a bill to bring more insurance companies into the state of New Hampshire, and I'm on that bill.
Mm-hmm.
So I criticize the man a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But when anybody, Republican or a Democrat, and I think that's why I got voted in. I think people know that I'm go my own way.
Mm-hmm.
And all I want is things to work here. I want people, to be cared for.
Sure.
I really would like to see Medicaid come in, which is part of the Obama Care Act, is
Right.
basically people who can't afford insurance,
Right.
pay for anything,
Mm-hmm.
who have, working poor
Sure.
need insurance. But he's bringing a bill in. I think some other people are bringing a bill in. And I've gone over the bill, and it is to bring more insurance companies in here and make it easier.
Mm-hmm.
I will sign on to that, and I recommend, if everybody's comfortable with it, both Republicans and Democrats do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not, we can't say everything's bad.
Sure.
And I don't think people out there who vote for me or vote for anyone else want to be one-way street.
Mm-hmm.
Fact is that that's important. But you're correct.
Sure.
There are a lot more people who want to sell insurance up here. It's very important.
Sure.
Competition.
Competition is important. But you mentioned that one piece of legislation that you signed on to. Do you have any legislative priorities that you're working on for the rest of this session?
Actually, bills that I'm either on or I may be on a few bills, but I've been requested to do a couple things. One is teachers for 3 terms, but we've been trying to pass a teachers protection bill. And twice that has passed the House.
Mm-hmm.
It's passed the Senate, and the Republican came in and wanted to argue about it, so the Senate changed their mind. So this year, I'm the only one on it until, I go back and I find out that people want to be on it. But basically, it is to help teachers in the system who are not being treated really nicely by the administrations, because the administrations are worried about lawsuits,
Mm-hmm.
da-da-da-da. So having done some research, I found out that there is already a teachers protection bill, but nobody's using it. So what I've done is I've taken that and I've added an amendments to it.
Okay.
So instead of writing a whole bill,
Sure.
we hope to pass the amendments. So this should help the teachers.
Oh, good.
And the other one is, believe it or not, as we're talking about insurance,
Sure.
As it goes right now, that there's going to be a lot more nurse practitioners coming in. And I go to a doctor, and if he's not available, I go to her, Nancy
Sure.
Clancy. It was just wonderful. And she said to me, she says, when my back was hurt, she said, I'll write you a thing so you a walking disabled thing. I said, okay. I mean, I never use it, but all right. She said, what you ought to do? You ought to put a bill in, and because people like myself, we're nationally registered. I mean, we're going to a doctor, try to put it on their desk, having them
Sure.
sign it, and a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, when it all should take 2 or 3 days. So I put a bill in for that.
Sure.
So it's a small little.
That's the beauty of a citizen legislature, isn't it? You have more people out there speaking with people in the community and trying to come up with common sense solutions to everyday problems.
I'm not sure if the people sent me up there to work on, as someone would say, something that's small as a disabled. But guess what?
Well,
We think that it is important. But
sure.
The Concord is going to be really steaming this year. A
Oh,
lot of things.
You still have huge issues that weren't resolved in the last session. The Medicaid expansion you still have to take up, casino gambling that it still could be taken up, and then you're also going to possibly take up a gasoline tax, increase in the gas tax, which some Republican senators now are saying that they're somewhat in favor of. So
These are big things.
yeah, they're huge things, and they're trying to address big problems that the state is experiencing now. So you're going to have your work cut out here, and I mean, the legislative session is going to go from January to June, correct?
Well, that's if we're lucky,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of us are working on other things that,
Sure.
that will go to the next, for
Right.
the next session.
Mm-hmm.
or working on them to clear them up, and sometimes they come back for a summer vote. This happened this year twice for us to do that. So I have not been. I've worked through August. In fact, I was on a committee to study the Liquor Commission, and 2 days after the election, okay, there were some Republicans and Democrats who didn't make it, who were on the committee, who didn't show up, that I happened to win. After the election, I was done. So I got no vacation at all. Worked all summer.
Yeah.
How about yourself? You're
deflect.
You're holding around, and you're going around, and he's helping all the Democrats. Why don't you run?
Why don't I run?
Why don't you? Why?
I don't have the time. I couldn't do it with my job right now. I'd love to run. I'd love to be up there in the middle of these legislative issues and fights. I mean, I think that's. I think they're so interesting and they're so important. God willing, someday I will run for state rep or something else. But now is just not the time, unfortunately, with the work and family and everything else. So.
Well, when I say you, it's also the people out there. Why aren't you running? Get out there.
Right. We're gonna do a lot of recruiting this year. We're gonna do hopefully a couple special events for candidate recruitment, volunteer recruitment. So that we can sit down with people and explain. Okay, this is what the commitment would be for the campaign. This is what the commitment would be afterwards. We know, like I said, there's a lot of excitement around Democratic Party here in Nashua, and so I think there are going to be a lot of people who step up and say, yeah, this is the time I'm going to run. And I think we have 24 great examples to show people of everything, of how much you can accomplish with the current elected officials.
That's right.
Or elected state representatives.
That's right.
We have many more elected officials from democratically elected officials from Nashua. You've all done a great job representing the Nashua Democrats. So, I think there's a legitimacy that comes with that. And
I figured out what makes a good politician.
What's that?
First of all, from the day I went up there, I said, I'm going to run once,
yeah.
Right? And that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm a Democrat, there's no question, but I would occasionally question, I certainly question the Republicans. But I think I've been up there long enough to know how the game is played. Now you have to find the energy to play it. And I found out you got to take some of the stuff personal. And when you start taking it personal, like health care, like losing a hospital here in the city of Nashua,
sure.
Our elderly are not being cared for, our roads and bridges are really got to be, something has got to be done. We are a tourist state.
Yeah.
When you start taking this stuff personal and you learn how it works, I think that makes every good politician I've seen have taken these things very personal, but very professionally.
Well, that's the key and it's got to be on both sides. I think that there's a feeling that it hasn't been very professional at times up there in the past. Maybe not the past year, but certainly from 2010 to 2012.
It was awful. And one thing that took place, and I'm not sticking up for anyone, but if you get 160 people, new people, coming in with no experience, with no one basically to grab them and say, look, there's procedures, there's ways to conduct yourself inside the house, inside inside the big room, as we call it, outside professionally. 167, right. And then there were some came back, some didn't come back, some got reelected. So it was really kind of awkward. Yes, we could turn and say the Republicans did some awful things, but having said that, a lot of those people who were not professional, and I will say both Republicans and Democrats were not elected, are not coming back. So you've really got to be really professional. But I would say to all Democrats out there that beware, the Republicans are going to come back with a vengeance.
Oh, I think we know that, and I think we know exactly. I think we know what it's going to take this time around. And you know, a ton of money is spent on the national races and people running for Congress, in the governor's race. And you know, I mean, there's just no way that you're going to spend that kind of money on a state rep race that pays $100 a year.
No.
No.
I
think we know, and I think our candidates know, that it's going to be a grassroots effort, and it's going to be talking to neighbors and fighting for every vote. And we're definitely we are ready to do that this year.
It's going to be
we're excited.
interesting because every single seat that we got back, the majority of those people, the Republicans who lost, are coming back.
Yeah.
And they're going to come back with a vengeance. So
Sure.
it's really, really important for the Democrats out there and for the Republicans who believe in the democratic process and not being, beaten up if you're, as the Tea Party has done to some people, or threaten them. You've got to be strong about this. But they are going to come back with a vengeance. So the Democrats have to be good. You must knock on the doors, and you must be professional.
Right. No, absolutely. We actually, we don't have too much time left here, but it is the New Year's show, so any good New Year's talk show, we're going to talk about resolutions this
well,
year.
I want to know, here's this gentleman who has all his hair,
Too
has
much
good
hair.
clothes, he's a professional individual. What do you have that you wish to do for the next year? What promise are you making to yourself? A change, an addition? Resolution?
A resolution. Resolution. I think as chair of the Nashua Democrats, one of my my biggest resolution is to get more young people involved with the committee. We have a great committee. A lot of people who devote a lot of hours to putting on events and our meetings and everything else, but we don't draw a huge crowd that are under 40 even, we'll say. So my goal, the one change I'd like to see is to get more young professionals, especially like myself, involved. Show them that this is a great committee to be involved in. We can do a lot of great and important things, so that is going to be my focus, I think. And then obviously we have 27 representatives here in the city of Nashua, from the city of Nashua and Concord. My goal is going to be to try to elect as many of those representatives as possible, re-elect our two great state senators, Democratic state senators, our great executive counselor, Deb Pignatelli, sent her back to Concord. And
very important. She's wonderful.
She is.
Deborah Pignatelli is good both for Republicans and Democrats.
Oh, she's fantastic, and she has just a very great demeanor, well thought out, is a great representative on the executive council.
And then we have Betty Lasky. Peggy Gilmore.
Yep, who are both up for re-election 2014. I think I hope they'll both consider running again. We haven't. It's a little early in the year to start having these conversations with people, but
I can't believe it. I just can't believe it, because starting January, by March, the end of March, you would have had to have made up your mind or not. It's awful to think that this goes on every 2 years, but the problem is it does. It's like every other year you start up to.
Well. And as far as the committee is concerned, we haven't even gotten a break. We've had two special elections that we've worked on.
That's right.
In 2013, right. So which is good. It keeps the machine running. So we've done well. We're going to be ready for next year. Any resolutions?
Yes, 30 pounds I'm going to lose, that I promise.
There you
I
go.
just have to do that.
Yeah.
It was always in good shape, but I had a back problem, a knee problem, an arm problem. No excuses now.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. But also politically, up there, I'm going to get really, I'm going to pick some issues, I'm going after them. I'm going to really fight. I'm going to take some of these things really personal and work both sides,
Yep.
try to be professional. But boy, I want to get some things done this time. If I can't get things done, I will not run. Something just
No.
has to get done. There are aspects of caring for people. You know, and there's some very important things taking place I want to work on. I'll tell you more about it during the year.
As we go down. Great.
Yeah.
Well, we can't wait to hear all about them, and we, you know, I particularly hope that you'll consider running again in 2014. But that's a conversation we'll have in a couple months, I'm sure.
We are on Facebook.
We are on Facebook, Nashua Democrats. We have a group page, an open group page on Facebook. We have a website, Nashua Dems or NashuaDemocrats.com. Either one you can go. And then...
oh, by the way, look at Gidge 3D. You're going to be shocked. I'm an artist also. I do particular work. Go to Gidge 3D. You're going to be shocked at what you're going to see. I guess that's probably about it.
That's probably about it. Happy New Year once again. This is Dave Tencza, Ken Gidge here with me for Us Democrats on Access Nashua. Thank you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.